The audience reports in Google Analytics contains plenty of information to help you understand the characteristics of your website visitors. This includes information about their geographic location, the types of devices they are using to access your site, how often they are visiting, and how much time they are spending between each visit, amongst others. The audience overview screen is the place where you get a bird's eye view of what's going on your site for a selected period of time. As you can see, the graph here displays the total number of sessions clocked in July. You can select another metric if you want to, let's say page views. And you can choose this metric to compare the performance with a previous time period. Let's go to the date selector and compare your current selection to the previous month to see how you fared. This will help you identify if there were any seasonal changes in traffic or if there were issues with your site that affected your traffic. You can accordingly optimize your efforts to win back your audience. If you scroll down below the graph, you can see that you have some additional subsets of data about your traffic. You can see that your sessions, users, and page views are in the red, while the rest of the stats are in green, indicating a marginal improvement in how your audience is engaging on your site. Another aspect that you can look into involves analyzing the new versus returning visitors. If you go to that particular report, you can see in-depth details of how your website was performing for your new and returning visitors. A great way to do this is by using segments. Once you understand new user behavior, you'll be able to outline your optimization strategy for newcomers. If you look at the left pane, you'll see that the audience report contains several sub-reports. Let's take a look at some of the key reports in this category. I'll start with the demographics reports. These reports help you understand the age and gender structure of your audience. To get a realistic view of your audience demographics, you must select a longer time period. From this report, you can see that the website is most popular among users in the age group of 25 to 34, but is not so handy for users older than 55 years. You can select different metrics from the sessions drop-down. So if you select bounce rate, you can see that this is fairly consistent across ages. If you notice any anomalies, it may indicate that something on your site did not go down well with a particular age group, and you might want to take a deeper look at it. As far as gender goes, if you observe that a significant portion of your audience are males, you can tailor your content to cater to their needs. If your audience is primarily women, you may want to focus your content on topics that women closely relate to. It's not just the content that you can tweak, but you can also make changes to your graphics, fonts, web design, language, and so on. If you access this section and don't see anything, it means you haven't enabled demographics. To do this, select Admin from the top of the screen, select the account from the drop-down, and then the appropriate property, and then click Property Settings. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and turn on Enable Demographics and Interest Reports. Let's now look at where your audience is coming from. You can find this information in the Geo Location Reports. Here, you'll see an interactive map overlay showing you the world map with a color scale applied. The darker color indicating where most of the activity is happening, and the lighter color showing the lowest activity. In this map overlay, we have selected the sessions metric, so you can see that most of the sessions in April came from the United States. You can drill down further by clicking on the United States map. Now you can see that in the United States, most of the traffic came from California, followed by Texas. You can continue to drill in to see which cities brought you the most traffic. So if I click on California and hover over the big blue button, I can see that Los Angeles brought in a bit of traffic, followed by San Francisco, Santa Clara, and others. If you go back to the US map, you can select another metric, say session duration. I'll type duration and then select average session duration under site usage. Now the map looks different. Here, I can see that South Carolina is where people are spending more amount of time. So let me click on South Carolina. Now if I scroll down to the data table, I can see that South Carolina is only accounting for 78 sessions when compared to California. Let me go back to California. I can see that it has 678 sessions. So the South Carolina data is probably not something you can rely on, as the sessions are almost negligible, pushing up your duration time. If your business goals involve selling a product or service, or you are focused on a niche market, you will be able to understand how your audiences are interacting with your content, and you will be able to better optimize them for the right market. Another important metric that you'll want to look into when you analyze your traffic is the new versus returning visitors. This is because first-time visitors on your site will navigate and experience your site a lot differently than from your returning audience. So paying careful attention to their behavior will help you convert them into returning customers. Let's go to the new versus returning report, which is found on the behavior report. Again, you'll see the sessions view displayed at the top and the table data view reflecting that data at the bottom. Let's now examine this as a percentage view to see a better representation of this data. Click the second button at the far left of the data table. Here, I can see that for the date range that I selected, 92% are new visitors and only about 8% are returning visitors. Let's dive in deeper to first understand our returning visitors. You can learn more about their behavior by clicking the Frequency and Recency report on the left pane. This report gives you an idea of how many times users are coming back to the site from a sessions and page views metric point of view. You can see that one session accounted for most sessions and page views, while it dropped off significantly for most sessions and page views. So you can see that as you move into the second, third, fourth sessions, the frequency of the returning visitor is tapering off. If you scroll to the top and choose days since last session, you can see how long it's been between each session. Next, let's move on to the engagement report. This report shows you the length of time visitors have spent on the site. You would expect your visitors to stay on your site anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes, and to know if that indeed is the case, you can look at the engagement reports. In this screen, you'll see that a huge majority of the sessions are between 0 and 10 seconds. That means a huge chunk of visitors are hitting the site, deciding that's not what they're looking for, and leaving. You can investigate this a little deeper by exploring the page depth. Here you can see that most visitors are leaving after viewing the first page, although there are a fair amount of visitors reaching page 2 as well. The engagement report clearly indicates that most of the site's visitors are leaving it in 10 seconds, and here's where your site optimization comes into the picture. You'll want to take a look at your landing pages, identify which types of content are having the lowest amount of session duration, and optimize them. And this is another area where segmentation plays a big role. You can create segments to understand if the low session duration is caused by a language issue. For instance, if a lot of Spanish-speaking people are visiting your site and then leaving, it may suggest that your language English may be irrelevant to your audience, causing the issue. Keep on exploring, investigating, and diving deeper into the different metrics to understand how new and returning visitors are interacting with your site. The final report we are discussing in the audience reports is the technology report. The way your website renders on different browsers and mobile devices is extremely important. A poor mobile user experience may be causing your visitors to leave the site, and you don't want that to happen. To learn more about this, you can navigate to the technology and mobile reports on the left pane. Let's select the browser and OS report. If you scroll down, you can see a list of the most popular browsers in the order of their sessions. You can see that Chrome contributes to 34% of the overall sessions, followed by IE, Firefox, and so on and so forth. This helps you understand whether or not you need to modify your site or test it on those browser platforms. To get a little bit deeper into the data, you can select a browser, say IE, and see which versions of IE are contributing to the overall percentages. Here you can see that 68% of IE users are using IE 11. If you look at the bottom of the table, you can see that less than 1% of all IE users are on the 6 and 7 versions of the browser, so it may not be worth your time to support those versions. You can also select the network report to get an idea of the service provider used by your audience. This isn't really that helpful, but if you had a traffic drop on a particular day, and you know that there was an outage in one of the popular network providers contributing to your site's visit, you'll know the exact cause of that traffic drop. Now, if you head over to the mobile overview report, you can see how much of your visitors are using the desktop, how many are coming from mobile and tablet devices. If your mobile traffic is high, you have to optimize your site with a user-friendly mobile design. You can also drill down further by going to the devices report. Here, you can get a picture of the type of devices mobile users are coming from. In this report, you can see that iPhone is contributing to the biggest usage. You can also interact with some of these other primary dimensions like operating system. As you can see, both the iOS and Android platforms are pretty popular, so you need to make sure that your mobile strategy involves emphasis on both Android and iOS. Use your mobile and technology reports to better understand how the user is accessing your site. Analyzing the different metrics will help you understand how you need to modify your site and what platforms you need to be testing on to make sure that none of your users are excluded. That's it for the audience reports, folks. Make sure you dig around and try different metrics to analyze how your audience is engaging on your site and then make the necessary changes to optimize the site for your audience.